Alrighty, welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Mae.
I'm Max.
And I'm Ben, and we were had.
I forgot it was me next. I'm sorry. I have COVID.
He's got COVID.
Can you believe it?
There are twists and there are turns.
Defleshed is a standard death.
Oh, that's fun.
We were had.
We were. So I'm sitting next to Mae, who probably has COVID. We're looking at Max, who's got COVID. The team is, I don't even know what to say. We're in trouble.
Can I just
It's a
say,
COVID team.
I think that you gave everybody COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, you spun this in a way. Mae is like, has full-blown COVID, and she's like, yeah, just come to me. Head over to my place.
You really think I have it?
Mae has every symptom of COVID. If you look, she is a textbook case of COVID. COVID is running rampant in New York, like we have never seen. And Mae's like, well, it's probably the allergies from my cat, who I've owned for 2 years without a problem.
It could be.
I guess anything could happen.
I don't think it is.
Okay, so that is a good segue into today's topic, actually.
Yes, it is a good segue, although what you're doing to me is
Because
murder.
Mae's going to commit
So today we've chosen a light subject. Do animals commit suicide?
Interesting.
And this is a real, I mean, we've done real mysteries every episode, but this one is really up for debate. And
I love, lately we keep saying this, like, this one, though, this one's a mystery.
this one falls in line with the entire idea of this podcast.
You guys aren't going to believe this, but this one's not solved, bro. They don't know what happened here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's rich.
So it is a hotly contested question in the biology world, in the philosophy realm, and part of the reason why it's so difficult to answer the question and why maybe you'll never have an answer is because you need to define a lot of terms that are sort of ambiguous. The main one being, what is suicide? What does suicide really mean?
The intentional killing of yourself, right?
Yes.
Right.
The intentional...
What else could it mean?
Well, yeah, but... Okay, so
But
I'll throw
I think
like some
for it to be
scenarios.
ruled... Now, Ben, not to speak over you, sorry, because I'm in a different state, but I'm not. I'm just in a different borough. But isn't it to
Not
be
even
considered
that.
a full
You're
suicide?
not even a... you're
Oh,
like...
that's true. I don't feel good. Okay. For it to be considered a full suicide, correct me if I'm wrong, you need to leave behind 13 tapes on old cassette tapes listing the reasons why. I think that's and now are animals doing this?
There needs to be a note. That's the rule. Is there needs to be a note. So one definition that we can kind of just go
Also,
with.
one more pause. I'm sorry. That little fucker just crawled across the screen. I don't see a sneeze from little Miss May over here. Let me tell you that.
Oh, I'm holding the microphone away from me because I'm wheezing this whole time. I'm like... It's not a good listening experience.
Let me tell you something. May and I sound eerily similar at the moment.
I think May sounds worse. May has it worse.
I can't believe I invited you to my house.
This is a fucking disaster. Just so everyone is aware, currently my two best friends have COVID. My girlfriend has COVID. My dad has COVID. My mom is in the same apartment as my dad, so she's a goner. Everything is crumbling, and I'm probably just going to be the first one ever to get COVID twice in a month.
Oh, that would suck.
That's tough.
No, you're giving it to me. No.
It'd be my fault.
No, come on.
Who would expose you to that?
What monster?
What piece of shit would just go around knowingly giving people COVID?
Okay.
Oh, God. So far, this episode is wholly unreleasable. There's so much evidence against us.
For the record, I tested negative.
Well, we've got to get this
days ago.
episode in because it is the final episode. I mean, there's no one of us.
We're all being arrested Australia style shortly after this episode is finished, so...
So one definition of suicide that we can just kind of go with. Suicide in the conventional sense is relatively uncontroversial to define. So, okay, what Mae said. The intentional taking of life after some kind of reflective judgment that it is no longer worth living. Now, that is a pretty specific definition because, for example, like a suicide bomber wouldn't really fall into that category.
True. Because they have like a mission. It's not about like life isn't worth living. Right?
Well, theirs is more about somebody
like a higher
else's life. They don't want their life to be living.
It is intentionally killing yourself, but it is not. I don't know. Again, it's like up until interpretation, but it seems to me like the definition that this person is going with, John Hadley, who specializes in animal and environmental ethics at Western Sydney University, is they're saying that it's like kind of got to be not depression, but like that you don't want to live anymore.
Okay. And are you saying that is the argument, are animals able to think about that?
Yes. So it involves kind of like, are animals able to, well, in some way, conceptualize the future? In other words, can they get depressed, first of all? And the answer to that is probably yes. That animals can have PTSD, that some animals go on antidepressants. Like that's pretty proven that they have emotions like that.
Have you guys ever seen those dogs that like their owner dies and then they go up to the casket at the funeral and they lie in front of it? Ooh, so sad.
I just saw a TikTok of a husky like crying, like sobbing on the grave of their owner.
Oh no.
Yeah. This is a sad episode, Ben. Way to bring the team down.
Well, it's an interesting question, but you're right. It's I mean, it's so sad. I was saying this to Mae before, and then she responded with, breathing droplets on me. But it combines like the two saddest things, which is animals dying and suicide. So like I completely, I really did go with something very upsetting today.
Oh man.
I prefer it when people die. Can I say that?
Yeah. I don't know if you're going to talk about this in this episode, but I saw some like short YouTube clip about there's like a bridge where a bunch of dogs jump off it.
Yes.
Yeah.
There were a series of dogs that apparently not only tried to jump off once, but a few times. One example was actually in the 1800s. And I can kind of bring this up. This idea of animal suicide and whether or not, or like humans questioning whether animals can commit suicide, has been around for 2,000 years. Like there was a ancient Greek guy who wrote a whole book about whether animals could commit suicide. And then in the 1800s, the study of this like really picked up steam. So.
You know what I forgot to ask? I forgot to ask what like kind of angle you guys have on your bodies here on the couch, because I'm going to try to put myself in the middle there. And
my angle is called fear. If I had to give like a yoga pose name for it, it's fear.
Yeah, he's staying as far away from me as he can.
This is uncomfortable pose.
How much of your torso's in this shot? A lot of torso?
Yeah, full torso.
I feel it happening. I feel the first day happening.
Do you actually feel like you're getting sick, or are you just having anxiety like a little bitch boy?
I'm definitely part of it. I wanted to ask you that because the topic is too sad. How has your mental health been during the quarantine?
About as strong as ever. Let me tell you. No, honestly, so far I've been pretty good.
That was the highest falsetto I've ever heard.
Honestly, I've never felt better.
Okay, so
I don't know. I'm hanging in there. I mean, it's complete and utter silence, and all I'm left alone with are my thoughts. But I think that I've never been better equipped for this in my life.
I can't breathe. I'm dying.
All right. So back to the subject. So a lot of people who don't think that animals can commit suicide think that we're kind of anthropomorphizing animals, that it says more about the person than it does about the actual animal.
Yeah, there's
But-
always some fucker on the internet that's like, oh, a doggo did a bleppin' suicide, hacking oops. You know those people
I don't know
that
what the
talk
hell
like
that
this?
was.
I think you're losing
Wait,
it.
let me look up. Actually, is stroke a symptom of COVID?
This is the messiest episode ever.
I'm having fun. I'm the only one that's.
I'm still convinced that I just have like a regular sickness. That I'm exposing you to that regular sickness.
I mean, this level of denial is.
I was talking about the way that, like, you know, like when the people that call them like doggos, like heckin', like the people that like start like an Instagram for their fucking dogs.
Well,
and they
Greg has
talk
an
all
Instagram.
stupid.
What are you saying?
Yeah, but you made him a QAnon shaman.
Oh, that's true.
That's a
that's-
different way to go about
He's
it.
speaking truths, not baby talk.
And that would be another example of the human saying much more about the person, because the person I'm sitting next to is a full-blown COVID denier. So, okay. Anyway, there are a bunch of examples, like the dog example that Mae said, where it looks like maybe the animal committed suicide. An article that I'm kind of basing all my research on, or kind of half my research on, called Do Animals Commit Suicide in Discover magazine by Richard Pilardi, opens with the example of the actor, well, the dolphin, the dolphin actor who played Flipper on the TV show. And
Right.
after the fact, I guess, like, when, you know, all the glory was done, she was all alone in a concrete tank. Not a good thing for a highly social animal like a dolphin. He claims, the person, Rico Barry, who visited this dolphin, claims the former cetacean, I guess that's a fancy word for dolphin, starlet, swam into his arms, sank to the bottom of the tank, and refused to resurface, drowning herself.
Weird.
That one actually also confuses me, because I thought for humans at least it's impossible to drown yourself without like tying yourself to a rock
That's
or something.
true. As far
Well,
as I
did she
know.
have a cinder block in there?
And that's how she died?
And that is how the dolphin died, according to this guy.
So weird.
But dolphins are some of the smartest animals, no?
Yeah, they are.
Oh yeah.
They also are like one of the only animals that bang for pleasure. Right?
Okay.
I don't know. I never fucked one. What do you want from me?
So you're telling me the actress
She
that
liked
played
it.
Flipper, yeah, this dolphin couldn't get her nut, so she sunk herself to the bottom of her tank.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
This one feels to me like it's a former TV star. This is like a, you know,
Like a child star that's drowning herself.
yeah.
I'd also like to point out that we are 2 in a row here where you guys just take a single article, read from that, and say, okay, here's the research.
I beg to differ on that one. This one, my research is based fully off of 2 articles. There are 2. There is one, the one that I just said, and then there's another one called Do Animals Commit Suicide, similar title, in SStat Psychological Services. And that has given me a wealth of knowledge as well.
Wonderful.
That one focused more
Okay.
on that history lesson that I gave.
I don't remember that, to be honest with you.
Okay. Well, yeah, it was before you started going like skit scat scoop before you just randomly started making noises. So I'll give you a few more examples of maybe kind of ambiguous cases or like reported cases where it seems like it could have been suicide. One is Jane Goodall, the famous primatologist, memorably recounted the death of one of her chimpanzee subjects, Flint, who seemingly lost the will to live and died a month after the death of his mother, Flo, in Gombe National Park in Tanzania. Similar instances have been noted in dogs and elephants. These are startling observations to be sure, but are they suicide in the sense we would use it to describe a human death? Even in cases in which the victim is under extreme duress or mentally unstable, we typically think of suicide as having some element of intent. We can't
And like
prove
awareness.
Yeah, awareness. Yeah, and I think that it also has to do with like an animal has to be aware of the fact that if they kill themselves, that will end the pain. So it's like some concept of death.
So are you saying that it could instead be something kind of instinctual? Like when an animal, isn't it a thing like a pack animal that's like one that's hurt, they'll kind of just go off on their own and just kind of die quietly?
Yes.
That's
Like a
like a
lion.
commonly known thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
What's that?
When they go off, like just to kind of quietly die,
Yeah.
is that, well, they're not really killing themselves, right?
They're just like dying of natural causes. Right?
Whether it's like,
True.
I totally see what you're
What
saying,
kind of
though.
topic
Because,
is this?
because then you're saying that they have some sort of awareness that death is approaching.
Yeah, they for sure do, right?
Yeah, I guess the question is, right, exactly what you said, which is like, is this an evolutionary instinct thing, or are animals, in some sense, thinking?
Yeah.
Wow. Real humdinger.
The other thing is that you can make the argument that usually if a human commits suicide, they're in a state of mind that is not really like they're in such a depressed or like they're not themselves on some level.
Right.
Chemical imbalances and such.
Yes. This is really a darker topic than I realized. I don't know, while I was reading this, I was just like, woohoo, this is so interesting.
Well, you're also dealing with two people that have COVID, so we're like, yeah. Like, we're just like, praise
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it would suck to be sick and want to die.
All right. Well, I will carry on as the one lone survivor of this podcast. And then for next week's episode, I will clearly be back on Zoom, and you guys will be together. So that's fun.
I like those. Those are fun.
Yeah, those are the best. Yeah, great. Good. So, going back to some examples, so others are more ambiguous. Famed field biologist George Schaller recounts an instance where a water buffalo, maimed by lions, had escaped and returned to its herd. Then, inexplicably, it left the safety of its group and allowed the lions to finish the job. Did it intentionally allow its predators to end its life, knowing that it could not survive the injuries they had inflicted? Or was it motivated by something else entirely, delirium, or a desire to draw predators away from its group?
Oh, that's interesting. Like falling on its own sword, like for the greater good of the
Yeah, like a
group.
martyr.
Do you think this water buffalo was just kind of like angling for sainthood?
I don't know. Are you making an argument that like martyrs in
It was
history
selfish.
just wanted for
It
the
was a selfish
credit?
decision.
That's where your mind goes when you hear of a incredibly valiant water buffalo?
Yes. I am saying that all martyrs are inherently selfish.
Great. Okay.
It's a hot take.
We're not going to name names, but Jesus, you have been.
On notice.
All right. Here's another example that I thought was fascinating. So, in her 2013 book, How Animals Grieve, Barbara King relates the story of a mother bear who, along with her cub, was subjected to the brutal practice of bile milking. So, in this procedure, which is largely carried out in Asian countries, catheters are inserted into bears in order to extract bile, traditionally believed to have medicinal purposes. So,
Ew,
some like
wow.
awful, or torturous kind of thing.
That sounds horrific.
So in this case, the mother bear supposedly broke free of her restraints, smothered her cub, and then smashed herself into a wall, ending her own life. So kills the kid and
Jesus.
her kid.
Wow. That sounds like a mentally ill bear.
That this
It sounds
animal,
like, or was it like a mercy killing?
Yeah, like another martyr.
exactly. So the question becomes like, was this bear very aware of this terrible situation? Well, was this bear killing her cub to protect the cub and then killing herself to protect herself from this torture?
Are you trying to make us vegan here or something? What's happening?
You and I both
Did
know
Mike-
that is not.
Did Mike put you up to this?
Well, what's so funny to me about this, I don't know if it's like a bit, probably not, because this subject is, people will just throw tomatoes at you. But I think that it's funny that the people who are like PETA, like really pro animals, are like, no, they could totally kill themselves. They're so smart. They're just like humans, you know? And then they're just like going up to a dog and be like, hey, buddy, kill yourself. Like, prove this guy wrong. Like, just go.
They're rooting for it.
Yeah, they're like, they end up rooting for it just to be like, you're as smart as anyone. You know, here's.
Yeah.
Here's a bridge. Go jump off it.
Yeah, exactly. Here's some arsenic wrapped in peanut butter. Go.
Oh my God.
So going back to the bear example, that this animal intentionally killed her offspring and then herself in order to escape a miserable existence does not seem terribly plausible. More likely she panicked or had been driven to a frenzied state due to the torturous conditions she had been subjected to.
Yeah. The panic state makes sense.
So again, it's like a...
How do the arguments against this explain all the animated feature films where these animals are talking to each other and they have families and they do have thoughts and they do have feelings and they're getting married sometimes? What are your responses to that?
I would go one step further. If you look at the film Inside Out, the feelings have feelings.
True. What a great film. Oh, love that movie.
What a movie.
What a movie.
You know what? That was a little hockey girl too, Mae. Did you really feel attached to her?
I did. I was like, interesting choice. Yeah, I liked it.
That was Mae's review. She turned to the person with her and was like, this is an interesting choice. While writing notes down for her blog.
Oh my God.
Powering on. Pena Guzman, that I believe is actually the last name, so I'm sorry, I'm missing the first name, but thinks that they might in a sense. So, quote, there is a question in the human psychology literature about whether suicide includes only active cases of self-destruction or whether it also includes cases of passive suicide. So this is kind of...
What's that?
So passive suicide, I guess, would be closer to refusing to eat. And there have been examples of dogs where their owner dies and they refuse to eat from a new owner. Is that suicide? Or is that just the dog? The thing is it not to insult the dog in that scenario, but like, is the dog being really smart because
dumb.
Or really dumb?
Because they're like, this isn't my owner. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Or smug. Is he being smug?
Is he being smug? He could definitely be smug.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like that new food.
What was the cause of death? Smugness.
This golden retriever was smug as fuck.
And then there are people, so much of the confusion about animal suicide arises from unhelpful definitions. Those who argue that non-humans do or could commit suicide have to start with a definition of suicide so sweeping that almost any arguable self-harm could be counted. So plenty of animals harm themselves. Like, that's a natural thing. There was a thing
Why
with...
are they doing that?
Like different evolutionary purposes. I don't know. They're idiots. Like, they're really...
My cat, I had another cat before Greg, and he jumped out the window and he died. Well, it's actually a she. I'm misgendering her for some reason. But I had it with my ex-boyfriend, and she jumped out of his, like, he was on, like, the 38th floor, and she died from the fall. So, like, is that suicide, or was she just slip? Was an idiot. I would have killed myself if I had lived with him, too. I'll tell you that.
I think you did that.
That guy sucked.
That was the first side. The cat
Christ.
gave you the inspired you to end the relationship.
Cat's like, we gotta get out of here. We'd already broken up by this point, but he took the cat in the breakup
And then killed it. Apparently.
and then killed the fucking cat.
There are examples of lemmings. What is a lemming?
It's like a, you know, it's like a lemming.
For those of you who don't see, Max is making a, what's this gesture called? Like a little...
Like a money gesture.
Yeah, money
It's
gesture, like a
just
cash.
a lemming. It's a
A lot of
lemming.
money in lemmings. Tell you. Stock price is going up. There are examples of lemmings who march right off cliffs. That's the thing that I was thinking of.
That seems.
I don't
like
think
just being
I
stupid.
realized the extent to my brain fogginess until I was forced to listen to scientific discussions and try to contribute to it.
Researchers
I can't think.
Okay, I'm going to just keep reading at you, and then hopefully something will click. Researchers are now aware that instances such as the mass death of lemmings that are going off cliffs are a consequence of a dense population of creatures immigrating at the same time. So there's also this like evolutionary thing where it's like if there's overpopulation, some animals will kill themselves for the good of the herd. So maybe that's going on. Like evolution is crazy. What animals are able to just instinctually know how to do for survival of themselves and of their kids.
Well, okay, but then if you're putting it into evolution and instinct's hand, doesn't it take away the thought of suicide?
Yeah, I kind of believe that if you're using the definition of suicide that we said at the beginning, which is more like an intentional choice, I think I fall on the side that animals can't.
What
Are
about,
we
like,
in the decision-making
what
portion
about like
of
all
the day?
animals though? Like elephants are known to be extremely intelligent. They have great memories. They get wicked sad. Like I could see them committing suicide.
Super cute.
But like a lemming, which I don't even know what exactly that is. I think
Like,
those things are just fucking idiots.
It's a lemming.
Yeah, and the bridge with the dogs is really weird. Like, what is attracting the dogs specifically to that bridge? It must be something about that bridge.
Yeah, the dog suicide bridge is very upsetting. I don't like that
A
story.
malevolent spirit, maybe.
Yeah, it's
That's
a ghost
my new
dog.
theory. Yeah.
Yeah, so the second article that I read, because I like to mine from different sources, gives the dog example. Illustrated London News featured a story in 1845 about a dog who reportedly threw himself into a river. Not only did he throw himself into the water, but his legs and feet were kept perfectly still, which is very unusual. The story gets stranger. The dog was rescued from the water only to hasten back and try to sink himself again. Apparently, the dog finally succeeded in his mission of suicide and died.
That's so sad.
Weird. I know. You would
I
think
don't like
more
that.
like this is really bleak, but there's obviously like a ton of animal cruelty out there. You would think more animals in that scenario would be doing this then. Like the dog markets
chickens
in
and
China.
shit?
Yeah. Or
True.
like cows for that matter that like know that they're going to the slaughterhouse.
I
You
guess
ever
that's
see when cows sit like dogs sometimes? It's really cute. They sit on
Yeah.
their butts. It's good.
That is cute.
no, I don't think
I
I've
like
ever
that.
seen a cow sit.
Yeah, they, like, fold in their little
you're in
feet.
for a treat. Yeah, it's good.
Looking it up
Let's
right
put
after
that on
this.
let's put that on the Insta.
Let's put that on the Insta. Oh God, the Insta photos for this one. Oh,
Oh my god.
what am I gonna
Just
put
bunch of
on?
wicked cute photos of animals and be like, did they kill themselves?
I'll just make it a video montage with Sarah McLachlan playing in the background.
In the arms of an angel. I think it's time to admit this episode isn't the Sing the Light of Day. I think that's time to admit that.
I actually disagree. I think that this has a lot of good stuff.
I think it's fun.
Okay.
Ben's risking his life unbeknownst
Yeah,
to
I'm
him.
not dying like a water buffalo for the sake of.
Do you have any more examples?
Infection with the parasite Ophiocordyceps, whatever, creates mind control in ants and literally turns them into zombies. The fungus
Whoa.
will
Oh,
steer the
that's
ant into
cool.
locations where the parasite can thrive, and journeying to these places cause the death of the insects.
That's really interesting.
That's sick. I mean,
That
that's
could
like
just-
some sci-fi shit.
Yeah, and that could just be like nature's way of thinning the herd, if you will.
Nature's Thanos snap.
Right.
Can I ask, though, I don't know if we've discussed this already, because as I mentioned, I simply cannot think, but doesn't this all, like, hinge on the notion that animals understand the concept of death?
Yes, that's what it comes down to at the end, and that's how one of these articles closes. Animals recognize danger and fear it, for sure, but do they actually fear death?
Or just like getting hurt.
Getting hurt, and I guess, do they understand the concept of, like, the end? I mean, humans don't really understand death either, which is why
No.
you create all sorts of explanations. But you at least
He goes
have,
on one of his classic atheist rants here. Here we go.
But I guess also another word for it is like imagination. Can they imagine the state of non-being? Which I don't think that they can.
Why not?
I barely can.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a tough thought.
I hate it.
Zebras do not knowingly graze near lions. They fear the danger of the situation. They understand that lions are to be feared. They have an innate response to fear that helps to keep them alive, but they do not understand the scope of their mortality. Since suicide is inducing our own mortality, animals cannot commit suicide if they do not know that they have mortality. So there can only be one logical answer to the question, do animals commit suicide? No. Oh, yeah. So this article is like very against it.
But here's the argument against that is that like animals definitely see other animals die. So what do they think?
I don't think they can wrap their heads around it.
Okay, well, here's this. How about that for this article writer? Okay, in Bambi, when Bambi sees the mother just there, shot dead on the forest floor, she knows mom's not coming back.
Hold
Was
on. Let me
Bambi a
scroll
boy
this.
or a girl?
Let me scroll
Girl.
to see if Bambi is
Okay.
mentioned in the article. 1 second.
Is it like a stripper name, Bambi?
I want to be Thumper.
Stripper also probably
Yeah.
from a broken home.
Yeah.
That might have been a bit much. All right. I have no excuses for this episode. I'm thinking loud and clear.
I'm not getting enough oxygen.
Yeah, this one, May's about to pass out.
Yeah, we have to release this episode.
This is ridiculous.
Because otherwise, if I came down here, by the way, we didn't mention this.
It's 9:30 in
We're
the
recording this
fucking
at the crack of dawn.
A day after we were supposed to release.
Oy.
All right, so what do you guys think?
I think it is possible for certain animals. I think some of them, like the ants and shit, I don't think that they have the mental capacity, but I think like dolphins for sure.
You're
Those,
picking
like,
and
whales.
choosing?
Yeah, I'm picking and choosing. I'm setting a hierarchy.
This is a loophole.
Yeah. I think elephants can.
I mean, I totally agree with May that certain animals would be more likely than others, I think, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's also
Yeah,
funny that it's a measure of intelligence. So it's like whoever says like, oh, if animals can commit suicide, that means they're really smart. That person is probably like, they're so smart that they know this whole thing's just not worth it.
Yeah. They know that we're living in a simulation.
Yeah. They're so smart that they're just like, life is not a thing we're doing.
No, I'm just supposed to chase down this fucking zebra the rest of my life. Miserable.
That's interesting to think that suicide requires intelligence because humanity, like our reaction when people, like, a lot of it is like, it's like, oh my God, like, why would you do that? And then
Right.
the argument to even consider suicide is that it takes a degree of consideration, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Side note, it's at the end of both of these articles, there's a little paragraph about like calling suicide hotlines if you feel depressed and all that stuff, which is great, and that should be everywhere. But like, I don't get why it's after an animal suicide article. Like, I don't think
What's the
anyone's
dog
suicidal
suicide
and
hotline
being.
number?
Yeah, exactly. But I don't think. No. But it's for the adult stuff. So like, but I don't think anyone is like suicidal in life and being like, well, before I do this, let me see if an animal can
That's
do it.
so
Like-
funny. I guess if you're Googling a lot about suicide and the causes of it, maybe that's a hint that you could be suicidal.
Fair.
I guess, yeah. Or if you're looking at POW and you're like, I want to do it how a Komodo dragon does it.
Yeah,
how do they
yeah.
take themselves out?
That's like Sam Morril's bit though, where he's like, I was Googling, am I depressed? And it just came back, since you're Googling this, yes. Yeah.
All right.
That's fun.
So I think that what we definitely had on this one, this was, as I said, a real mystery for once. And
Or is that you hating on all the ghost stuff?
no, not at all. It's just such a weird thing that I said that when it's the whole premise of the show.
That's the show.
All All right, Max, feel better. May, I have mixed feelings at this point.
I still don't think I have COVID. I'm gonna go get tested for sure, but like I keep getting negative tests, so like why would I don't have it. I just can't breathe.
Sympathy pains for Max.
It's our COVID.
All right, folks.
All right.
Hope
we
you
were out.
enjoyed this ride. Bye.